Hello and welcome back to this month's episode of Unstoppable. The Colonials are springing into the new season, and here to cover it all is our unstoppable team. Joining me to my right is my esteemed co-anchor, Grace Stevenson. Grace, what's the lowdown for this episode?
Thank you, Isabel. We've got a great show coming up today, covering the final weeks and postseason of our winter teams, as well as an overview of our upcoming spring season. We'll also be hosting men's basketball coach Jamian Christian as he sits down with our very own Savannah Guida in an exclusive interview.
All of this and more on Unstoppable.
Men's basketball is coming off a 2-game losing streak as they head into the weekend to take on local DMV rival VCU in Richmond on Saturday. The team is coming off a tough loss Wednesday to the Richmond Spiders 73-70, and despite the presence of famed rapper Sway Lee, the team could not pull it together in the final seconds of the game. Overall, it's been tough going for the men as they continue to struggle to achieve consistent results throughout the second half of the A10 conference play. However, despite recent losses, the freshman trifecta of Jameer Nelson Jr., Jamison Battle, and Chase Parr have been dominating the court and converting key points off rebounds and in the paint. Parr added his second double-double in GW's matchup against URI earlier this month and had a career high of 16 rebounds in last month's quadruple overtime game against Davidson. Nelson Jr. has been key in converting Parr's defensive rebounds into points both from behind the arc and in the paint. He and Jamison Battle have both reached their career high of 22 and 25 points respectively. But let's not forget about the famed senior forward Armel Potter and junior Maceo Jack. Both players have been key in assists and scoring points behind the arc, consistently illustrating the team-first mentality that Coach Jamian Christian believes in so strongly. And while this is just a brief overview since our last update, here is our favorite senior basketball correspondent. You know her, you love her, Savannah Guida. Savannah, what are we looking at with this team so far?
Well, they have 3 games left in A10 play before they go to Brooklyn to participate in the A10 championship tournament. And I gotta say, I'm really sad the season's coming to an end. Wednesday's their senior game where they'll be honoring 5 senior athletes. They're gonna be playing Fordham. And I'm very excited for that game because, as we know, Fordham isn't really a powerhouse A10 team. But they did beat GW in their last matchup a couple weeks ago. So it's going to be interesting to see GW come back and try and prove themselves on their home court. It's also going to be interesting to see how Fordham comes into this game, being that they're going to be away and the situation's going to be a little bit different this time.
Well, Savannah, you mentioned that you're sad to see this season end, and quite honestly, I think we all are. What about this season makes you sad to see it go? What was different?
Well, compared to last year, I mean, we've talked about this before. They ended with a record of 9-24 last year, 4-14 in A10 play. This season, we've still got A10 play ahead of us and 3 conference games left, and they're 12-16 and 6-9 in A10 play. So a lot of improvement there, really. And I'm sad to see the season come to an end because we have such a young team, and it's just been so great watching the players grow since November until now. Players like Chase Parr wasn't even suiting up in November, and now he's a starter. Just seeing the transitions made on this team, how it's even changed the culture at the school, I gotta say. I've seen more people at the basketball games. I've seen celebrities. Sway Lee waved to me. So it's been a really great season. I'm just so happy that this team has improved, and we've got such a young roster, so there's so much growth ahead of them, maturity, and it's looking good in the future years.
And how do you think that going into post-conference play, with A10 championships coming up, how is this team looking among the other A10 competition?
Well, one of our top teams, they're ranked number 1 in the A10 and number 4 in the NCAA is Dayton. That is also GW's last game of the regular season. So that's going to be a tough opponent considering they also have Obi Toppin, who's an NBA prospect at the moment, and that's just a very tough team to face. It's going to be an interesting matchup. Hopefully GW wins, but the A10 conference is a good conference. They've got strong teams. GW is currently sitting at about the 11th seed or so, the 10th seed. If they stay that way, they have a good shot at making it to the semifinals. I don't know so much about the championship, but definitely the semifinals. And they're really going to have to zero in on the game. The players are going to have a lot of mental toughness because this team does have a lot of size and physical toughness. They just sometimes lack confidence, and that mental aspect of the game isn't always 100% there. They're also going to have to rest because injuries are really what defeated this team this season. Losing starters, losing players like AT. When the team didn't have Armel after his Davidson injury, they lost every single game without him. And as soon as he came back on that court, that senior leader took over, and that team was winning again. So they're really going to have to rest and execute plays perfectly. You can't mess up. I mean, when they played they played Richmond the other day, and in the last couple seconds of the game, they had the chance to tie with a three-pointer. And Armel Potter intentionally missed the free throw so he could rebound the ball and shoot from beyond the arc, but he just so poorly executed that play. It was just the most ridiculous air ball. So they just need to really believe in themselves and really just know the plays.
Yeah, well, it's always a pleasure having you out here, Savannah.
All right,
we really
thank you.
appreciate it, and we really hope that the team can pull it together going into the A10s.
Of course.
The GW women's basketball team finished up their regular season with a hard-fought victory against the University of Rhode Island, winning 73-56 in a heated match here in Foggy Bottom. But it hasn't been a smooth-riding victory train for the team since the last time we talked. The women have broken out of a consistent pattern of winning a game, then losing a game, then winning another game and losing another game. And if that doesn't make your head spin, imagine how our reporters on the ground feel. But let's break it down. The women went into a 2-game losing streak to both St. Louis and St. Bonaventure. Both games lost within a 5-point margin. Who kept them hanging by a string? Point guard Sydney Zambroda came out as the lead scorer for both the St. Louis and St. Bonaventure games, scoring a cumulative 26 points in both games. After that, the women fought on to defeat VCU by a 1-point 56-55 lead, but turned around and fell to LaSalle 61-54, which is a disappointing loss following a well-fought victory against VCU. The team dominated against our revolutionary rival, George Mason University, winning 62-57. Grad student Alexandra Mon came out as the lead scorer, totaling 16 points, which would spark a trend for the remainder of the season as she continues to sit as the top scorer for the past 3 games in a row. Mon secured her career best, scoring 27 points against Duquesne, which also put her in 3rd place for the A10 leading scorers. That leaves us with their most recent victory against the University of Rhode Island, beating them for a top A10 seat going into the championship play. Here to break it all down for us is our senior women's basketball correspondent, Shayna Stein. Shayna, what can you tell us about the regular season as we head into the A10s?
So far, GW has kind of been in the middle of the pack compared to all the other teams in the A10 conference. And while they do have some standout games, it's very hard for them to keep a consistent winning streak. Like you said earlier, they'll win 1 or 2 games, but then they'll lose the next. So it's just, even though they've had some really great moments, it's hard to see steady improvement with them.
So Shayna, it seems like in the past few games they've played and kind of all season, they go through phases within each game where they're really hot and they're scoring a lot, and then they'll go through phases where nothing is going through the basket. So what is the mentality of that team, and how does Coach Rosati turn that around in those times when they're struggling to score and keep points?
Well, after being at several press conferences with Rosati and some members of the team, it seems that she wants the players to be in a certain headspace so that, if they're coming into halftime not having done so well either offensively or defensively, she just wants them to kind of forget about their mistakes in the past and really go into the second half with a clear head. She just wants them to, work on what they can improve, whether it's moving the ball around or getting to the basket quicker on defense. She just doesn't want them, worrying about what they had done wrong in the first half.
And kind of going along the same vein of Rosati's tactics, you mentioned that she has a different lineup almost every game, and most recently she's been utilizing the same 4 first-year starters. And I had read a statistic that it was since 1990 that a GW women's coach has put in 4 freshman starters for a game. So what is that looking like for this fresh new talent, and what will that look like in the future?
Yeah, well, this team is definitely a very young team. The majority of them are freshmen and sophomores. However, it's the freshmen that have really been pulling the strength of the team. You said how she's starting 4 freshmen. She's starting Faith Blethyn, Essence Brown, Tori Hyduke, and Mayo Ataiwo. And although these players are young, they really, really have standout performances, and that's why. And, she's just has a lot of different starting lineups, which, it may be confusing for the team, but, I guess it's been working for them so far. I guess trying to put different players into the game, having, them all have a lot of playing experience. So although it might be an unusual tactic, it is working for them. And one thing I'd like to say that Tori Hyduke, who's a freshman, she has been performing really, really well. She's usually the lead player of the game. She's averaging 9.2 points per game, and she's also shooting 53% from the floor and 57% from beyond the arc. So, despite being young, she's good, so why not start her?
Shayna, what are you seeing with these past few weeks and the team's development, and how do you think that's going to affect them as they continue on into post-conference and A10 championship play?
What we've seen in the past couple games is maybe a bit of a more poor performance in the first half, where they come into the second half more strong, and I think that is a good quality to have as a team, to be able to realize your mistakes and go into the second half with a more level head. And however, although they have been performing well in the second half in some of these games, they still don't have this consistent winning streak. So it's kind of hard to tell what will happen in the future with them, but hopefully they'll be able to, get their act together and move from the middle of the pack up to the top. We'd like to see them win, but at this point, they have been performing averagely compared to other schools in the A10 conference.
Well, Shayna, it's a pleasure having you out here. We really appreciate all your work, and we hope that the women's team can continue on their streak.
Thank you.
Small but mighty is the theme for the GW women's tennis team, as they have served up an impressive start to their season with a clean sweep win 7-0 against crosstown rival George Mason. While the current record stands at 3-5, they've scheduled several top teams within the first month of competitive play. Even though their team only has 6 members, they've put up impressive performances against top teams including West Virginia and Navy. In a most recent match against Morgan State, number 1 singles player Katarina Marinkovic defeated her opponent 6-2, 6-2. And number 2 singles, Alexandra Vesicalio, defeated her opponent in 2 sets 6-1, 6-1. Both players have had strong performances so far this season, and with 3 new freshmen, this team is developing into a formidable opponent. And here to give us a rundown on all things women's tennis is our senior squash and tennis correspondent, Richie Wright. Richie, what are we looking at with this team?
I think we're looking at, like you said, it's a small but mighty team, only 6 players, but they've notched a lot of good wins so far. GMU was a big win, and even though they fell to Navy 4-3, they had players like Marinkovic and Kunkel both winning their singles matches, and I think that's showing a lot of strength and growth for the team, because they're freshmen and sophomore, both those players respectively. And Marinkovic, she's one player that's really done a strong job throughout this whole season. She's got 3 singles matches wins so far and 4 for doubles, so I think she's someone definitely to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
And so the team is going into a match with ECU this weekend, and they had recently just lost. So what does GW need to do to win that match, and just generally going forward, build up their stamina for the rest of the season?
I think they just need to make sure they're staying focused on and off the court, and knowing that ECU has also lost their most recent match, so ECU is going to be coming to that match with a lot of energy and motivation to win, to reverse that losing streak. Same with GW. And I think just between that and making sure that they're all healthy, that'll help a lot.
Richie, how do you think, since a lot of this team, half the team is freshmen, how do you think that impacts the team's mentality and coming into college play?
I think they just have to look to some of the more experienced players. I'll go back to Marinkovic. She's a sophomore. When she was a freshman last year, she went 15-4 as the number 4 seed. And her presence was felt immediately. They named her as the GW Female Rookie of the Year due to her strong presence on the court. So I think she's definitely someone, she's only a year older, but she's definitely someone they have to look to for experience and guidance.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Richie, well, thank you so much for coming out. We really appreciate it. The gymnastics team continues to stick the landing, scoring their season high in the pink meet with senior co-captain Sydney Crassa leading the way for the second straight meet on the vault. Deja Chamblis, along with Crassa, both tied for third place on the podium. Both Simone Bannon on bars and Anna Warhol on the vault scored career highs in the meet, along with first-year Hannah Manelli achieving her own personal best score on the bars with a 9.850 score, earning her a third-place spot on the podium for the first time in her collegiate career. The momentum slowly faded as the team fell by only 2 points to Kent State in the following matchup. Despite the close loss, our first-year come-up, Hannah Manelli, secured an identical 9.800 score on the vault alongside Chamblis. The women went on to secure a third-place title at the New Hampshire meet, with Bannon leading the pack on the vault, followed by sophomore duo Chamblis and Olivia Raymond, both scoring 9.675 on the vault. The team came in second place at the University of Denver meet, again with Chamblis leading the pack, and again in second place at their most recent sweet meet here in Foggy Bottom. Joining us here at the desk is our gymnastics correspondent, Micah Banks. Micah, what do you see going into the remainder of the season?
Yeah, aspirations are still high. GW is not currently in the top 36 national rankings, which are needed to make the national tournament on March 23rd. However, they're still sitting fourth in the Eastern Atlantic Gymnastics Division with plenty of room for improvement left with 4 meets remaining. Some positives are Simone Bannon just posted her first career 9.9 on the beam after this last meet, and also co-captain Sydney Crassa finally broke over the hump, earning her first 9.9 after 5 scores of 9.875 in the past. So with 4 meets left, there's still plenty of ground to make up, but plenty of time to make up that ground, and the team will look to gain some points to their average before it's time for nationals.
So Micah, how do you see this team stacking up against the other teams moving forward?
Well, you know, GW's made the national tournament every year since 2015. So for Coach Margie Foster Cunningham, that's definitely a goal of hers. And like I said, there's still some time to make up that ground, but I think that this motivated team will look to make it.
Yeah, and then 2 of the names that stick out for me are Sydney Crassa and Deja Chamblis. Every single, record that comes up, their names are there. How do you see those 2 women kind of steering the team in the right direction?
Yeah, you're right on it. Those are definitely 2 of the most talented gymnasts on this team. Like you said, after every meet, their names are the ones in the papers, and I think they're really going to have to rely on them to carry the weight as this season goes on. But it's their time to shine.
Thank you so much, Micah. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Don't go away.
Hi, Colonials. Did you know there are hundreds of ways for you to volunteer with GW? Each year, over 1,500 alumni, parents, and friends contribute thousands of hours to make our community stronger. There are countless ways you can volunteer, so it's easy to choose an opportunity that is most meaningful to you, like connecting with students and alumni based on your student involvement, identity, or personal interests. Getting involved with your local alumni network. Mentoring a current student via our online mentoring platform. Connecting with prospective students through undergraduate admissions opportunities. Serving on an industry network leadership council. Becoming a social media ambassador. The list goes on. No matter where you are in the world or how much time you have to give, you can connect and volunteer with GW. And the best part, it's easy to get involved. Just visit alumni.gwu.edu/volunteer to learn more about these and other opportunities. Because of your service to GW, you are able to make a direct impact on the lives of former, current, and future students. We look forward to working with you. Raise high.
Welcome back. Women's lacrosse has struggled to find their footing as their season kicked off in the beginning of February. The team currently holds a record of 0-4, losing to Temple University, Mount St. Mary's, Duke University, and American. Despite these losses, the senior leadership of the team shows promise for closer matchups in the future. Seniors Katie Quinn and Morgan McDonnell have been instrumental in both offensive scoring and team motivation. Even though they've gotten off to a rough start, we still have hope for this team as they enter the next stretch of their schedule, playing several fellow A10 teams.
Expectations are sky high for the softball team coming off of their A10 championship title last season. The team set several program A10 records, with Jenna Cohn named A10 Player of the Year, setting a career high of 20 home runs, and pitcher Sierra Lange ranked third nationally in wins, going on to represent GW on the Philippines Olympic team. Last season was without a doubt one of the most historic seasons across the entire GW athletic program, breaking records in almost every category. But despite this historical season, 2020 has not fared very well for this team, starting their current season with a 6-game losing streak. Jenna Cohn brought the team out of their losing streak with a home run in the 7th inning of the 6-5 victory against DePaul, only for the team to fall right back into a 4-game losing streak. Cohn once again anchored the team to victory against the University of North Carolina Wilmington 15-10, but fell to Eastern Kentucky 2-4 following the Wilmington victory only in the same afternoon. That brings us to their most recent 2-1 victory against Brown. Hopefully the team's record will improve as they head into the Colonial Classic this upcoming weekend here in Washington. We wish them luck.
The baseball team has been hitting it out of the park so far this season with an overall record of 6-2. With big wins against Georgetown, Coppin State, UMBC, and Marist, this team is plowing through its competition. Pitchers Justin Colt and Harrison Cohen, strengthened by their infield, have been efficient in getting outs and using their at-bats to quickly gain ground over their opponents. GW's batting lineup is incredibly strong, with 5 of the 11 batters holding a batting average of above 300. While this data is a bit skewed due to the low number of games they've played thus far, it's indicative of the season they could have if they continue to play as well as they are now.
The women's water polo team is off to a busy start this 2020 season, going 5-6 so far. The team started their season off with a 3-game losing streak to teams like LaSalle, Villanova, and Salem University, and all within 1 or 2 points of each other. After a 12-6 win against St. Francis Brooklyn, the team lost to LaSalle 4-11, but came off the loss and into a 3-game winning streak. Senior Alana Ponce has been anchoring the team through the water, setting a program record as well as becoming a member of the first-team all-conference team, securing 64 points this season so far. After the 3-game winning streak, the team fell back into the 2-game losing streak, bringing us to their most recent win against St. Francis Brooklyn. We wish them luck as they continue on to fight through this season.
Men's track is sprinting right into A10 championships this weekend, wrapping up their indoor season. Last weekend signaled the close of the regular indoor season with meets at both Boston University and Virginia Military Institute, where freshman and A10 Rookie of the Week Miles Grant posted 2 top 20 finishes in both the long jump and the high jump. In addition, Grant's stellar performance, junior Ryan Dorothy placed 18th in the men's mile with a time of 4:29.50. We'll be sure to continue to cover this team as they finish their indoor competition at A10s this weekend and continue on to the outdoor season in March.
The GW women's track team started off its 2020 season with 11 top 10 finishes at the Terrapin Invitational and went on to secure 3 program records with Suzanne Danaheim and Wesley Robinson in the 5,000 meter. Danaheim went on to win a first-place slot at the VMI Invitational in the mile event, with juniors Catherine Nohilly and Margaret Coogan coming in second and third place. That brings us to Danaheim shattering yet another record at the Valentine Invite in the 3,000 meter event. The team continues to break records and set the bar high, and we'll be covering them every step of the way.
We'll be taking a quick break, but don't go away. Next up, our very own Savannah Guida will be sitting down with men's basketball coach Jamie and Christian. Stay tuned.
All right, we'll be ready in about 5 minutes.
I'll be ready. While these guys finish up, I got a few things I want to show you. Come with me. Over the summer, we gave a lot of things a new fresh coat of paint and a new look, including the Vern Shuttle Express. Take a look at this. Oh, there you are. I thought I'd lost you. Come on with me. I want to show you the new all-you-can-eat dining option out at the Mount Vernon campus. Hey, I can charge my phone in here. I'm stuffed. You got to try the mac and cheese. It's great. I got one more stop to make. I got to get my gear for the year. Let's go to the bookstore. You can't have too many GW ties. You need to get out in your buff and blue. I want to see at all the events and the games, raising GW high. One of the things I heard from a lot of our students is we need more community space, a place to eat, study, hang out with friends. Like this one. This is one of our new spaces. We need to get going. Got to get back. This is going to be an exciting year.
And action.
Welcome back.
Joining us in the studio tonight is a familiar face on Foggy Bottom's campus, head coach of the GW men's basketball team, Coach Jamian Christian. Coach, with your first season here at GW ending soon, what have been your biggest accomplishments so far from the start of the season until now?
You know, I love how connected our team is. That's the biggest thing, and nothing great's ever achieved without great connectivity amongst your group. And we have great connectivity from our upperclassmen to our underclassmen. Our connectivity has just been remarkable all season long. That's the biggest thing I'm most happy about. Watching our guys compete and perform every single day has been a pleasure. But their connectivity, I think you can really feel it when you come watch us play and when you see these guys walking around campus.
Of course. And on Wednesday, we'll be honoring 5 athletes, 5 seniors who will be leaving after this season. How do you plan to account for those losses next season?
Oh, man, I love these guys. These guys have given so much to GW basketball over the years. Many of them have been injured at times and battled their way back. They've tried to give so much to the GW community. They just mean so much for where we're trying to go. And I feel like they've been such an important piece to the first layer of foundation that we've been able to lay. Guys like Leonardo Toro, what he's been able to battle through all season long and the major things he's been able to do. Juice Williams the same way, just a guy in the community that our guys love all the time. Luke Sasser brings all the kind of swagger and energy that you can imagine, and he's just a great team player. Adam Mottola, just how unselfish he is on a day-to-day basis. I'm not sure people get a chance to see that, but his just unselfishness and his caring for our team has been so special. And then obviously Armel Potter has had such a tremendous year, an historic year really. When you look at his numbers, what he's been able to do in the A-10, we're going to miss all those guys, not just for what they do on the floor, but what they bring into our locker room.
Of course. And now, how are you going to motivate your younger players, and what do you expect from them in terms of leadership?
Well, the younger guys have had great examples above them, and that's what's great about when you're trying to build a program that's based on connectivity, is that you see the value in every person in that locker room. And I know our younger guys have really seen this value with how the upperclassmen handle themselves on a day-to-day basis. I know our younger guys are excited about carrying on the torch that these guys are passing down to them.
And how did you account for injuries and in putting in players like Chase Barr to kind of sub for AT?
Yeah, it's been an interesting year. We've had a lot of different adversities that kind of pop up, and every team does, and you expect some of those things to happen. And as a coach, it's my 8th year going in, you expect injuries to happen, you just don't know when they're going to happen. And so you just try to keep everybody upbeat, keep everybody motivated, having a next man up mentality. We have so much belief in everybody on the roster, and we know there's a pathway to win with everyone on our roster, and we just try to tweak things accordingly. But the biggest thing is when you have great spirit amongst each other and you believe in one another, you have guys that can step in and make great plays for you. And we've seen that time and time again this year. A guy steps into a new role and gives us great energy, and we just got to continue to have that within our program every single year.
Of course. And Coach, I know that you really stress things like accountability and connectivity, but how did other effects such as mindfulness training impact the team's mental toughness this season?
Well, mindfulness is everything. Just the effects it has on, being able to diffuse stress and all those things. I mean, these guys are in a competitive environment every single day. They're competing for time in practice, they're competing for plays in practice, and they don't get on the floor and they're going against great opponents. And so, mindfulness has been huge for us. We use a guy named Greg Graber, and just helping a guy be able to learn how to reset himself, how to be present in the moment, the power of the breath is what we always talk about. And I think we've really seen it in these moments. We've played so many close games this year, and we've been right there. We've won a couple, we've lost a couple, but I think our ability to maintain it, and then our ability to go out and respond the way we have the next game, has everything to do with our ability to be mindful.
What do you think the team could have done to win some of those close games? There's been a lot.
Yeah, there's been a lot of different things that kind of happen through the course of a game. And every game is sort of like its own movie. And different things happen through the course of that movie that will dictate the outcome. And so, I think our mindfulness kept us in those games. I think our ability to execute down the stretch has to consistently get better. And then sometimes you need some luck. You need some ball to bounce the right way sometimes, and, a call to go your way or the other. And, we've had some games where that's happened. We've had some other games where we haven't. But, I just love our ability to respond. And I think our ability to be connected and our ability to respond has been really spectacular. And I think when you come watch us play, every game is coming down to the last second. And that's a huge compliment to our team that you got to play us for 40 minutes, and that's going to allow us to win some games here at the end of the year. I really believe that.
Now, Coach, seeing how this regular season has ended and how A-10 play has gone, what are you doing to prepare for the A-10 tournament, and how do you expect that the team will play in Brooklyn?
Well, we build everything by the tournament. When you're in college basketball, it's all about March basketball, and it's all about playing really well over a 4 or 5 day span. So everything we build into our program, from how we call our plays to how we do our defense, is built for tournament play, and that's what's exciting. We got a little glimpse of that when we were down in the Bahamas. Those 3 games in 3 days, the way our team was able to respond and react those last 2 days. That's pretty typical of how our teams have performed in the month of March. And so we're just trying to learn our opponents. We're so data driven with what we do and how we do game plan that we're looking forward to the opportunity to get there and play against the very best in a neutral site environment where your energy and your connectivity can really showcase.
Coach, how do you prepare when you compare teams like number 4 NCAA ranked Dayton and then Fordham that isn't so much of an A-10 powerhouse team?
Well, every team is so different. Every team has a pathway to win. And, obviously Dayton is one of the best teams in the country. And so they give you they have a pathway to win that may be more physical, maybe more athletic. But Fordham obviously has the same thing. I mean, they're in a different direction. I mean, they really run their stuff. They really grind you out. And the way we play, and we've got to be ready to kind of perform against anyone. And we haven't created a dominant style just yet where we can come in and just stamp wins on that schedule. It's going to really be about us being able to understand what they're trying to do and the ways that they can play against us and beat us, and us understanding who we are. And we talk about being us. And, the power of us is really special because, no one can be you. And if you really buy into who you are, you have a chance to be really dominant. And I think at times this year we've really done a great job of that. Every game we've got to try to find a way to be us and be us in the best way possible.
And do you think that the most important thing is connectivity or everyone's individual confidence?
Oh man, I think they kind of go together. Connectivity is so important, and connectivity allows the next guy to be as good as he can be, and it allows for that energy to go, and that helps build that confidence. And confidence is a tricky thing. I always say confidence is the biggest steroid we can have, and we're always trying to build that into guys. Through the course of the year, it's difficult because we all have these huge expectations, and expectations are like dreams that you can't control, and so trying to manage everyone's individual expectations become really hard, and your individual expectation can bleed into your confidence, right? And so if I go into a performance and I'm saying, hey, I have to get 12 rebounds this game and I get 6, that can really bleed into your confidence. And so the biggest thing we try to do and try to do the best job we can is just trying to help guys manage their expectation and understand that all we can control is the moment that's in front of us, and trying to be the very best we can do that. That's where that connectivity kind of kicks in. And if you're able to be connected, being within the present moment with the guy beside you, you can really achieve some really special things.
Now, Coach, outside of the mental toughness, physical toughness, your coaching staff has done a lot of promotional things like emphasizing the world's most powerful city. How has that impacted your team?
Well, it's huge for everything we're trying to do. I truly believe that we can win a national championship here at GW, and that's our goal, and that's what we're working for every single year, and that's the kind of team we're trying to work to put on the floor there. And so the marketing part of it is huge. It doesn't mean anything if no one knows what's going on, and so we try to be really out there. We're one of the youngest coaching staffs in the country, and so we're more connected to our younger fan base than most coaches, and that's a major advantage for us. And so we want to do a great job of making sure they know what we're doing here, all the cool things that we get to do here on campus, all the cool people that have graduated from here, and all the things they're doing to change the world. And so, being a hashtag world's most powerful city is huge. And I think it allows people to understand, wow, there's really something special going on there. How can I be a part of that? And we're going to consistently keep coming up with different ways to market what we're doing here at GW, not just for basketball, but on a university level, because there's so many special things and amazing things going on here, but we got to make sure we share those stories so the world knows.
Of course. Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and good luck in the A-10 championship.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. After this commercial break, stay tuned for Hot Takes.
Universities like George Washington play a critical role in hosting debate and discourse on events of the day.
The right answer is not to refuse the other. The right answer is not to say, get rid of this religion. It's not part of us. It's wrong.
I think that the story of America is a story of race. So when I think of the questions that I'm asking or the stories that I'm going to write, I'm thinking, okay, well, what are we learning about our country?
Well, I think the likelihood of him being indicted is close to 100%. There was a lot of hurdles that had to be cleared in order for that to happen.
One of the reasons that Donald Trump is president is because there is such a frustration with the way that Washington functions.
Sympathy is one thing, but empathy is the language of recovery, and it's something that's without a doubt instilled into every person that's in recovery.
It's never lead with the positive, it's always lead with the perceived negative.
Well, that is part of the problem. I mean, I actually would agree with you on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One of the things that we have seen that is most under siege in this country is the notion of civil discourse, and we here at GW, among other things, very much want to stand for that.
This is truly an only at GW moment.
Hey Unstoppable fans, it's time for Hot Takes. I'm your host, Savannah Gaida. The rules here are simple. I'll ask a question to our two anchors and they will get into heated arguments with each other for your viewing pleasure. First up today, men's and women's basketball. With both teams closing the regular season the next few days, what were your favorite reporting experiences at either a men's or women's basketball game this season? Isabel, let's kick it off with you.
Yeah, honestly, just to, in general, this season has been by far one of the best seasons GW has had. Maybe not, statistically, but definitely on the side of morale. The energy inside the Smith Center for almost every game has been amazing. So it's really just been awesome to see that sort of transition into, a deeper morale at games, and it's just been really fun to see that. My favorite memory from this season was being able to interview Yuta Watanabe with Savannah, which was really cool to see a former GW basketball player who now plays in the NBA, being able to talk to him about his experience at GW and transitioning into the NBA on a professional level was really cool, and that I will always remember.
I would have to agree with Isabel about that too, because I think that this team has just been really incredible for my freshman year, at least, coming into GW and seeing that development and kind of hearing about last semester and seeing that, hearing there wasn't a ton of morale and coming in and really being able to go to games and see that change and feel the energy in the Smith Center. I think some of my favorite memories have just been doing games with both of you. It's been really fun. Also going to the game and seeing Sway Lee was pretty cool. But yeah, I think that just every game is a new game and new experience, which has been really cool.
Yeah, it's been a great season. Isabel, I'm going to have to give this one to you just because that is also my favorite memory this season, our little impromptu interview. We ran onto that court.
Yes.
It was a very fun experience. Yes, definitely. We were there first. Relentless journalism always. That was definitely my favorite moment, and it's just been an incredible season. I love doing the men's and women's games. I've done more men's than women's games, but even the women's games are fun. Sitting courtside, it's always a good experience. Next up, a question students at GW have been debating for years. Can GW be considered a sports school? A school notorious for its winning sports and intense student fan base. Let's hear from our very own student athlete, Grace Stevenson.
Well, Sven, I think this is a great question because I think when a lot of people think about a sports school, they think of football, they think of basketball, baseball perhaps, but there's so much more, and at GW especially, there's so many great teams that are kind of flying under the radar a bit. And so I absolutely think that GW can be considered a sports school. It doesn't necessarily mean that just because you don't go to basketball games or you maybe like to go to a different sport, that's still absolutely a sports school.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Grace. A lot of my friends go to consider like a sports school, like you said, by definition, big football schools. And, especially being here on Unstoppable, we do such a meticulous job of making sure we get every stat right and every, fact about every athlete correct. And I think that in and of itself is sort of, in a way, becoming a sports, contributing to that culture of a sports school, and really just giving credit to those athletes that do take the time and the energy to put in to be an athlete. And so yeah, I agree with Grace. Like, you don't need to have a football team to be considered a sports school. And I think that the effort that the student athletes put in here at GW does indeed make this a sports school.
Of course. Grace, you're going to win this one. Our own student athlete who knows it all, has seen it all. I agree, though. We do so much. We cover so much sports. We really do a great job at it, and we have a lot of great athletes, a lot of talent, and of course the heart and soul of Georgia's Army, George Glass, with the hot dog suit and shark hat at every single basketball game. I would consider us a sports school. For our last question, which winter sports team do you believe does not receive enough fan recognition for their talents? Isabel, finish it off for us.
Well, so this isn't a winter sport. This is a spring sport. But I'm going to go with the softball team, just because we've talked about them on the show today, and they did an amazing job last season. By far one of the best seasons that GW's entire athletic program has seen. And they won the A10 championships, and that's something that the GW community, I don't necessarily think rallied behind. Not just the sports community, but the entire GW community really was not even aware of that. And these women have worked very, very hard. Me and Bella went out to interview them last season as they were moving into the A10s, and it was the energy that team had, and not even the energy, but just the heart and soul that was on the field and the love that they had for each other, I truly believe is what brought them to where they are. So I really hope that they can pull it together this season, because they've worked too hard and have too much love for each other to let that effort go. So I think a lot of that comes from the GW community and offering support to them through this new season. They have 5 new freshman players. That's a lot of new talent to bring onto a team, especially after losing 5 or 6 of their old senior players. So yeah, I do think that, I know the question was winter sports, but I'm sticking with softball here. They really do deserve a lot more credit for the work they do.
Yeah, I think that there are a few sports that are outside of kind of the traditional scope of sports, be it like the last question, basketball, baseball, football, whatnot. I also think there's most of those tend to be spring sports, even though the question was winter. I think sailing and rowing maybe in particular, just because those sports are less understood by the general population of people, and so by that it doesn't necessarily attract as big of a fan base. But those 2 sports are both incredibly difficult, both mentally and physically. The rowing team is up at 5 a.m. every day going out on the water, and that takes so much commitment and so much drive. Same with the sailing team, and I think also just the physical location of it makes it difficult. I mean, they're on the river, and it's less easy to get to, but I think those 2 sports also deserve so much recognition as well. But really every GW sport, because all student athletes have incredible commitments.
Of course, yeah, it's definitely a commitment. Definitely takes a lot of work and effort. Isabel, I'm going to give this one to you, because despite softball not being a winter sport, I do think that they are a great team, and more people should go out to the Vern and watch them play. Personally, I also think that the women's swimming and diving team and the women's gymnastics teams are very great, very talented. The women's swimming and diving team just won the A10 championship, and I would love to see more people in the Smith Center pool cheering them on and just really giving them the recognition they deserve. Congratulations to our co-anchor Isabel Schmaler for winning today's Hot Takes.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GW-TV.
Or check out more packages and exclusive content like our interviews with the cross country team and the tennis teams over on our Instagram page at GWTV_unstoppable. See you next time.